So this is tapping. You're going to tap the hips. Start from the skin across the forehead. And go all the way around your face, over your eyes. Be very gentle. If it hurts, you're tapping too hard. Tap the sinuses, the bone just under your eyes. Tap the cheeks in front of your ears. And the muscles in your jaw. The back of your head. You can tap with both hands at the same time, or you can tap alternately. You tap where it's comfortable. Try like tapping my lungs, because it sounds funny. Tap down one arm. Without being. The thing I want to do is roll down, and it's important if you have high blood pressure that you stay up above your knees, will roll down and try to touch your toes. Just lean forward in your chair and continue to breathe. And those arms, if it's comfortable, if it's not, you can just keep your arms down to your side. Exhale, see if you can drop just a little bit further, even if it's imperceptible. And when you inhale next, roll up one vertebral at
I'm an acupuncturist specializing in NATE and Nambuja allergy elimination technique. Acupuncture has been used for thousands of years for the treatment of just about anything.
I'm an essential oils consultant and coach, and I teach about using very high-grade therapeutic essential oils for health and wellness.
It is a great passion of mine to share with others the practice of sacred chant, also known as ecstatic chant, because it brings on a sense of joy and euphoria for those who practice it. It's to drop into the heart, as it works on us vibrationally with the power of sound.
For me, wellness is a complete approach to my physical, my spiritual, and my astral body, and it's a practice. So, yeah. Relationships with money.
Unfortunately, we're able to make really large financial mistakes these days. So people come in wanting to know, are they on the right track? What's preventing us from getting what we really want? Generally, it's habits, it's emotions that are getting in our ways. So we track our expenses and we start to have plans and goals about how we're going to move forward. These are things that I help people do.
Research shows lifestyle choices can really help prevent chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes.
I believe that when we are balanced in our mind, our body, and our spirit, and we seek wellness, we will see that we are on the same side as those who we argue against.
I'm all about the story. I was a lowly young member, 26 years old, but I had a master's degree in health administration. They said, "Little girl, come over here. You're our new CEO." Acting, of course.
Everything is energy. Your body, your thoughts, and every spiritual resonance that exists in and around you is a vibrating wave of light.
My idea of wellness is living in balance in one's body, mind, and spirit. Through the 3 stages of work that I offer people to come into balance, heal, sustain, and thrive.
At Yoga Farm, we teach practices and tools that help our students and clients love and live in a healthy body, experience kindness of their mind, and to feel the rapture of being alive in their soul.
And along the way, our students cultivate the garden of their life.
Now don't step on the flaming part. Yana wana yana away ho hanna. Yana wana yana away ho hanna.
These spiritual window shoppers who idly ask, "How much is that?" "Oh, I'm just looking." They handle 100 items and put them down. Shadows with no capital. What is spent is love, and 2 eyes wet with weeping. But these walk into a shop, and their whole lives pass suddenly in that moment, in that shop. Where did you go? Nowhere. What did you have to eat? Nothing much. Even if you don't know what you want, buy something. Be part of the general exchange. Start a huge, foolish project like Noah. It makes absolutely no difference what people think of you.
It's not going to feel good, but you just have to be fierce. Got this. You got it. You got it. Done. Yeah.
I am here tonight. This year is a year of blossoming.
This process of having shows about many different holistic modalities creates an opportunity to give people a metaphor, people who have never experienced holistic medicine in any way. There's a consistent challenge with this idea of alternative medicine. It immediately creates sort of a reflective paradigm. In relation to mainstream medicine, we're going to understand this.
You'll want to take some notes. I want to know what I can use that maybe I don't go to the drugstore for. If you come down with the flu and you go to the doctor, what do they say? Go home, rest, drink a lot of liquid. Just can't give you anything for a virus or the flu. They might say take a lot of vitamin C, get sleep if you can. But there are other solutions. A lot of people are using essential oils or one of those things.
I was one of the people who came through the ranks of traditional Western medicine and into administration, and that was very much a part of me. I saw that it's getting away from us. It's not affordable for all of us as citizens, as a country. We can start introducing some of the Eastern modalities, which are just less expensive because they don't depend on a ton of technology. The technology has come into play, but it's not expensive in the same way that it was for me as a hospital CEO.
I've been a coach for the last 25 years, studied psychology in school, and discovered after working in a psych hospital for a period of time in outpatient psychiatry, where I got exposed to many different approaches to therapy, group development, group therapies. I really didn't want to go that route. I was working in geriatric psychiatry, and I realized people weren't being touched. There was no touch in any of the treatments that they were offered, and these were elderly people. They were starving for touch.
If there is a consistent theme to what we're calling alternative medicine, and I prefer holistic, the way in which people are challenged to take more responsibility for their own health really transforms our attitude towards what health is. In so many ways, a hospital is going to help once things have really gotten bad. And all these different holistic modalities, and modality is one way of describing an entire school that is, it's much smaller than saying medicine, but it's a theme. Acupuncture or yoga are modalities that help us stay well.
So wellness is the recognition of all of the inherent components of all this, the recognition and appreciation of all this in your life, so that we are able to stop dwelling so much on what's going wrong in our life and start to see how much is going right. We can connect with a deep wellspring of gratitude, and when that starts bubbling up, all that's left is to give.
The harmonium healing is metaphysical medicine, energy medicine. Along the spinal column we have bodies of fluid, and we also have our nervous system. It is a laying of the hands, and it works with the power of the sun. The harmonium is very different than the harmonium metaphysical medicine. The harmonium is as you said, is an instrument, and many confuse it. It is actually spelled different. Harmonium treatment is harmony with at the end. We use sound in the treatment and my hands.
I am beauty. I am peaceful.
And I am ecstatic.
And I am thrive. Forgiveness.
And I am flower.
And I am change.
And I am conviction. I am allowance.
And I am surrendering. And I am peace.
I am release. I am shedding.
I am cycle.
Balance.
A number of hugs that you guys will have received over the years that were somewhat less than fully nourishing. Hey! Right, the bear hug. I'm afraid to touch you hug. Hey, good to see you, right? The burp the baby hug, right? Ah, right? This is not sexual. It's really clear, right? Notice it's not fully present, okay? And finally, the kind of hug that you give to a dear friend, or the kind of hug that you give to your child, or someone you really care about. Hey, good to see you.
Because I think for many people who haven't explored any of these modalities, it's like walking over fire. You have to really pass through some fears to take more responsibility for your health and to trust a range of people and teachers and styles of learning that are not normal. And perhaps you don't even have more than a handful of friends who've ever done anything like it. So I think it's great that, I wouldn't say every modality, but many modalities work that way. And you have to expect it in a way that respects the practitioner. Like, they're holding space for you, and things coming to the surface is not a bad sign. Sometimes I think people pull away from alternative therapies, holistic therapies, because it'll bring up feelings they don't want to face. And you really shouldn't. Certainly don't try to walk on fire, but even don't do intense yoga practices if you're not prepared for that process.
Yeah, well, the cranial work, we do a lot of unwinding of the neck, so that helps to release the tensions on the spine. That helps a lot of times. The chiropractic treatments will hold better, or you don't necessarily even need them sometimes. It just the muscles will relax and the body will self-correct. So everything basically that I was talking about, different paradigms and different treatment methods, is what you learn the first year of acupuncture. Things, and I just sort of scratched the surface. There are several other paradigms I could talk about.
So when I hold my hand over you, I'm maintaining the intention to allow Reiki, which is a Japanese Christian word that means the Holy Spirit. I'm allowing Reiki to move through me for you. The principle behind the art of Reiki is that what you need is known to Divine Spirit. I'm just a vessel.
Reiki is energy. It's universal energy. It's here all the time. It's been called many things, but in all different traditions. In Christianity, it's called the Holy Spirit. In Hinduism, it's called Shakti. It's called Ki. It's called Chi. Quetzalcoatl. It has a name in every spiritual tradition. It's called Shekinah in the Kabbalistic Judaism tradition. And it's the active part of consciousness. So we have two parts of us. We have an awareness that is always here, and we access that
shadow energy through and get our whole being flowing. That flow state, that perfect ease of pure potentiality, moving into the next inspiration and success, feeling that accomplishment and successful contentment is your goal, then in order to reach that, it's necessary, in my opinion, to move through these shadows.
Whatever you love will move you into abundance naturally.
You give what you love to give. The other metaphor, and this ties into what we offer here at Yoga Farm, is think of your fireplace or your wood stove. You say to the fireplace, when you give me heat, I'll give you some wood. That's not the way it is. It begins by giving your gift. For the wood stove, we have wood. And Danielle and I, when we started Yoga Farm, we saw a vision of finding a way to give.
Notice the way you engage the challenges. Notice the stuff that goes on in your head. Notice the way you take it on, whether it's about charging forward or holding back or whatever. And consider whether that's the same way you approach other challenges in life. Playful out, pay attention, let it be easy. And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Any questions about this so far?
Resting and managing stress. I mean, does anyone have stress in their life? I'm putting up two hands because I got a lot of stress right now. Does anyone not have any stress in their life? Tell me your secret.
And your reptilian brain trying to keep you out of the reach of saber-toothed tigers or traffic is killing your immune system. That's what goes first. The immune system, because it can't handle having all that cortisol, all that adrenaline pumped in all the time.
If you consider the basic principles, when you have proper conduct and proper relationships, then your energy flows freely and you're tapped into the universe, you're channeling this energy into your daily life. People's conduct and how they behave in life can be a source of great abundance or great stagnation.
A lot of ideas are thrown out there, but we don't get a lot of training or education on these things. My parents are awesome at money. They did not talk to me about any of it growing up.
So I'm going to measure out what 12 grams of sugar is in teaspoons. 12 grams of sugar, in every one of these packets, 3 teaspoons of sugar. So 3 of these per 1 packet of oatmeal. So that's 1 teaspoon, that's 2, and that's 3. You can see that real well, but that is 3 teaspoons of sugar. And to me, based on the size of the packet, that seems like an awful lot of sugar in one little packet. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe if I've got a little bit more time, I might make another choice.
Doesn't mean there's any such thing as dumb goals. SMART goals simply gives us a way of tracking what we're going after. We want it to be specific, we want it to be measurable, we want it to be attainable, relevant to where we are in our life, and most importantly, we want it to be time-bound. We want our goal to have a time frame that we can actually meet. So let's practice one of these and kind of see what it would look like. A lot of folks who come in and see me haven't established a savings account or a savings history. They haven't started to have their own emergency fund. So one of the first goals we might have are, can we come up with an emergency fund? Financial counselors like myself say you should have 6 to 8 months in an emergency fund of your expenses. I don't think this is a realistic goal for us to be setting. I don't think it's relevant to where many of us are in our lives.
So we get very specific from the very first coaching session and thinking about the why, the how, the when. And so the why is about personal motivation. And that's going to be really important later on when the going might get a little bit tough, and the personal motivation is what we go back to.
The underpinning spirituality of pretty much all religions, the uniting of the individual to the divine, Zen Buddhism, and the interdependent, simultaneous co-arising of everything, where you couldn't have this piece of wood if we didn't have the stars.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful, beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking, so others won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make and manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others.
The way I see it, there is only one divine energy. Whether we call it Allah or we call it Yahweh or Krishna, is that we're all really opening our hearts to the same beautiful source of grace and to each other.
And there was a man there carving Ganesha, and it was beautiful. You don't have to believe literally in an elephant-headed god to believe that that is a very, very powerful symbol.
A community of people who are very open-minded and willing to lean into new experiences with an open heart. Wellness, to me, is the absence of suffering. I frequently heard this mantra that hurt people, although it may or may not be true. It just felt like a very negative way to approach situations. Being at the massage school and around light workers, energy workers, body workers, I have more often noticed that healed people.
God. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, and to the Romans, Mercury. He holds a staff. It's called the caduceus. And there's a spiral of often snakes around the staff with wings at the top. Thoth left these documents, the emerald tablets, in which he describes you as a flower with living fire coming out of them. We've lost our relationship with this essential truth about what it is to be alive in a human body as a spiritual being. We are reclaiming this vivid life force as part of ourselves, and it's wild and it's worth it.
That you want to carry and bring out. And that evolved into the Heart Path, which is the spiritual and coaching work I teach. And I utilize my own tools now: intention, tracking, inquiry, and Reiki meditation and healing.
Human beings have come up with these forms and these names that can be a portal in, these gods, goddesses, deities, and divine images that we can direct our attention to and direct our love to.
Because of course it was the Roman Catholic Church that took Christian theology and spiritualism around the world.
We just divorced that spiritualism between church and not just state, but church and medicine. Spirituality and religion are kind of out there, and people can be kooky if they believe too much in it. And yet there are so many miracles known to occur.
We have people who put those miracles into tabloids to disconnect the populace from spirit, because a population full of spiritual beings having a human experience is so powerful that the people in power might be a little afraid of that.
For them. And that's where I think we are. I think there's a lot of deep value in holistic modalities, and it's been incubated in this 15%, between the extreme 7% and then into this 15%. And it's about time, I believe, for many of these themes to take root in the mainstream.
Intimately connected to the sun all the time. It's like, imagine if you, no matter where you were, you could be in the darkest room, or you could be in the you could be in Times Square, yet you have the intimate awareness and experience of being uplinked or connected to the sun. It's the light of that awareness that comes out of you because you are unshakably connected to Source. Connection comes through your eyes, it comes through your words, it comes through the way you care for yourself, but a radiant being is useful. So radiance is the light of that awareness that shines out of you.
This is how we define wellness, is with a balance in all these areas. I love that connection to the sun. That brings in food, right? Because plants are all the sun.
Put it on your feet, go to bed. I was like, my feet? Oils that I don't like the smell of, I put them on my feet. I put my socks on, and I want the benefit of the oil. Pretend this is my foot right in the middle of the insole.
We have several microcosms of the body. Like the nose, you have all the organs represented on the nose, you have all the organs represented in the eyes, you have all the organs represented in the ears, and the hands, and the feet. Reflexology is a system of the feet, but Chinese medicine does not use, doesn't come from China. But
we also focus a lot inside of that on self-expression. So we are home to many different activities and meditation group, some of which are the Dances of Universal Peace, Sai Ma, which is a regular meditation group, Landmark Education.
The Reiki empowers the light. It opens us up to experience more energy in our body. My ex-wife wants to do Reiki on me. If I allow her to do Reiki on me, am I going to pick up all of her anger and everything that she has towards me? No, you can't get karma cooties through Reiki. It doesn't matter. You can. That's one of the reasons I love Reiki, because it's the only energy work you can do in New York State that you don't need a massage therapy license for.
Vet bills, holidays, travel, weddings, gifts, medical, etc. The list goes on and on when we think about unexpected expenses. How does just writing them out start to change our perception of what these are? Now that we've written them out and we've started to look at them, we can expect these things to happen.
And your reptilian brain trying to keep you out of the reach of saber-toothed tigers or traffic is killing your immune system. That's what goes first. The immune system, because it can't handle having all that cortisol, all that adrenaline pumped in all the time. And again, it's part of conversational coaching to say, how would you know when you feel well? That's not the same for everyone. And some people have no idea because they've never felt well. Whether it be emotionally or physically doesn't make one bit of difference. Usually it's some combination of things. One thing plays off in another thing. We are integrated bodies, are we not?
That's what's happening. I wouldn't say that everybody thinks this who associates with holistic health, but there is a theme of how important it is to look at the challenges in your life and recognize the way in which they might be an inducement to change your life in ways you need to change. So rather than just being upset when things go wrong, when your dreams don't come through, when something breaks, when you get sick, how can you change your perspective and embrace your own power, whatever that may be, to do something in this moment to make your life better? But then if a modality does its job well, you can do an extremely difficult yoga practice and people will break out into heartfelt tears, remembering something they thought they'd totally forgotten, because the strength they're manifesting can contain it. This particular trauma for me, I'd had a man pull a knife on me in the past, 6 years ago. And I had not had a context that felt strong enough for me to bring up those feelings. I've talked about all sorts of other challenges, didn't address that one. And this was strong enough, and that's awesome. I mean, I hadn't really anticipated it, but having a relatively sharp, and these are practice arrows, but relatively sharp arrow at my throat kind of brought that back. And the people there and the strength of the workshop itself was strong enough. I felt safe to feel the fear that I had just held down in order to make it through the experience. And that I think is a great metaphor for anyone tackling their health in this way. My personal work is a lot to do with vibration and changing vibration through movement and yoga.
Is getting clear about what we intend for the evening. Because the more clearly you set your intentions, the more likely you are to get there.